NCFCA opportunities together to provide leadership and oversight into all the things that we're putting together, just like the intensive and the summit, as well as some of the competitive opportunities that I know Chrissy's going to talk about in a few minutes.
Great. And Chrissy, you are our Director of Forensics. So is that some type of investigative work? What is a Director of Forensics?
Well, in this case, it does not involve that type of investigative work, but I oversee specifically oversee the competition elements for NCFCA. So the tournament planning, working with our team of leadership who plan and then execute competitive opportunities for our students.
That's great. And so if I wanted to get involved in NCFCA and I wanted to attend some of these tournaments, what are some of the events that my student could participate in?
We provide a wide variety of events for students to choose from and to compete in. At our tournaments, we provide the opportunity for students to practice the skills, to really put into application all of the skills that they've been learning about. So we have 10 speech events that we offer in our competitive opportunities. At our tournaments, we have platform speeches, and platform speeches are what you typically think of when you think about a speech. Those are speeches where the students select their topic, they research, they write their speech, they memorize that speech, and then they present the speech. And so the different types of platform speeches for this season are digital presentation, informative, and persuasive. We also offer limited preparation speeches, which are just as the name implies, where students have a limited amount of time to prepare for their speech, and then they give that speech on the spot. And so that develops a different type of skills for our students. And in the limited preparation area, we have 3 different types of speeches: apologetics, impromptu, and extemporaneous. And then the final type of speech events that we offer are interpretation speeches, where students are analyzing literature, then scripting that literature and performing the literature, and bringing that literature to life. And again, those are 10-minute speeches that the students prepare in advance. The students choose the selections for those speeches, and the categories for this season are biblical thematic, duo, humorous, and open. So those are the 10 different types of speech events that you could expect to see at an NCFCA tournament. Then we also offer debate, and I know a lot of the focus of the summit today has been on debate. There are 3 different styles of debate. Team policy debate is a debate that focuses 2 on 2. So there are 2 teams of 2, and they are debating about a specific policy. So this season, those team policy debaters will be debating about the European Union. The European Union should substantially reform its immigration policy. And so that is the topic that the students will be competing in all season. We also have Lincoln Douglas value debate, which is a one-on-one debate where the students are debating values. This season, they will be debating in democratic elections, the public's right to know ought to be valued above a candidate's right to privacy. So that's the topic that they will be digging into for the season, the competition season ahead. The third type of debate is moot court, which is reserved for some of our older competitors. And that is a simulated oral argument before an appellate court. And so our students will be receiving the information about the topic in the fall. And that's something, again, that, develops a different skill set. We have a wide variety so that students can find something that they are interested in, or they can compete in a variety of opportunities to develop a variety of skills and to have really just a broad skill set by the time they have finished competing in NCFCA.
Thank you, Chrissy. Appreciate that. And Natalia, I know that you actually participated in this league as a student. So tell us a little bit about your experience. What are some of the greatest takeaways that you have had from your time in the NCFCA? Natalia, we can't hear you. So we're going to jump and we'll come back to Natalia in just a moment, the pleasures and joys of technology. Kim, I know that your kids competed in NCFCA a number of years ago, just a few. So why did you get involved in this activity?
You know, it was a friend who introduced me to NCFCA. She called me up and said, hey, there's an information meeting at this local club. I know Mackenzie likes to debate. She was 12 years old at the time. And of course, I think lots of 12-year-olds like to debate. And she said, do you want to come and, grab some coffee and see what they're doing at the speech and debate club? And I said, sure. And honestly, I can still remember the exact presentations that we saw that evening. And I was just blown away. I had taken speech in high school, but only as a class. And then certainly to see, the skills that the kids were gaining there, you could just tell they were taking information they already had from their education and assimilating it into arguments that made lots of sense. And, that's certainly something that we want to encourage our young people to do, is to know how to clash ideas without clashing personalities, to have that ability to do civil discourse that's not quite as prevalent as we would all hope that it is. So it really just provided those opportunities. And once Mackenzie got involved, the other two followed quickly. Yes. And then it became a family event.
That's great. Natalia, how's that sound? Rats. We can't hear you. So Natalia's going to smile and wave. She has so many great things to share. Chrissy, can you just tell me a little bit about your family's experience and how you did this as a family as opposed to just your students competing?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. We actually heard a little bit about NCFCA when my oldest children were about the age when they would have competed, but we didn't have anybody who was directly involved that we knew, and it seemed like a big commitment at the time. I have 5 children, which isn't a huge family necessarily, but at the time it really felt like it would be a lot to take on. But we did know a little bit about it, and our oldest son started interacting with more and more folks who were involved in speech and debate competitions, specifically NCFCA. So by the time we reached our 3rd child, he really had a passion for learning the skills. He was actually very shy and reserved, but he still had a passion for learning the skills. And so we got involved. We had some friends who were starting a new club, and we got involved with that club, and they said, well, what about your daughter? She's old enough. It hadn't even occurred to me at the time that my 12-year-old daughter could also participate. And I remember driving to our first club and she said, what are we going to do? And I said, I have absolutely no idea. I really didn't know exactly what we were getting into. But that son, who was very shy and reserved, we started off just doing speech for our particular family. That's all that we thought we could commit to at the time. He really gained confidence in his speaking, but also just as a person, really developed his skills. And then so I had 2 more that competed alongside that. We incorporated speech and debate into our curriculum as part of our homeschool curriculum. We were homeschooling. We also had our youngest, who was attending tournaments with us, made lots of friends there and learned the skills. Even those younger ones, sometimes as they were spending time together, would have debates themselves. They would make up their own debates. And so he really never had that fear of public speaking. He kind of grew up in it, and it just became something that we did as a family. My husband happened to have a job where he could participate some and travel with us. And so he was able to come along as well. And so we really did make it a family affair. And I say we did in the past tense because all of my kids have graduated now, not because we're not participating any longer.
Yes. Yes, I was invited to come to NCFCA by a good friend of ours in our CC community, and I kept saying, "Oh no, I just, this is too much. We have so many little kids," and it took her 3 years to finally convince me to come to an NCFCA tournament. And she kept saying, if you just come once, Amy Joy, you'll be in this for a very long time. And so here we are, a good number of years later. And I just want to say, for those of you who have littles, I started when my oldest child was 12, and I had 5 younger than that down to an infant. And it really is a family affair. We bring the kids with us, and they grow up in the environment. They learn from older students. They watch speeches and debate. And one of my highlights was when my little, we call him little man, when my little man was very, very young, we were making out Christmas lists. And instead of asking for toys, he asked for a suit so that he could look like his brothers and sisters going to debate. So I just want to encourage you, it can be done. I know for me, this was a little overwhelming. So I am a math and science background, debate and history and philosophy. Those were not my world. Kim, talk a little bit about learning this activity. So does everybody come in as elite experts on debate, or what does that look like?
That is a great question. And, part of what we say in our tagline is meet your challenge. Meet your challenge means that truly it is an individual situation where each child, even within a family, may have, as Christy said, different skill sets, different interests. So it's really an opportunity for kids to come in, and maybe the challenge the first year is just to deliver that first speech, just to do a 30-second impromptu. We had a story yesterday just about making it 30 seconds. Now, you're not going to win the national championship on a 30-second speech, but if you could share the gospel effectively with your neighbor, I would say to you that I think that's more important than winning the national championship. So again, setting your own goals for your own kids, for each kid, for your own family. If it's one tournament that you participate in and each child does one speech, that's an amazing accomplishment that really should be applauded.
That's great. Christy, can you talk a little bit more about the tournaments? So we've had a lot of questions this week about regions. What's a region? And then just a little bit about how those tournaments work.
Yeah, so we are a national organization, and we have divided the country into 11 regions. And so those are just geographic regions that are divided. We have local tournaments. And of course, some of that this season will look a little bit different because of events in the world. And so we are planning for some online opportunities, but we still are divided up into smaller groups that are regions. Each region hosts several qualifying tournaments where students can practice their skills and get feedback from parents, from the community, as well as from NCFCA alumni. They compete in those tournaments, and then they have the opportunity from there to qualify to a regional championship. We also have national level events that are open to any competitors from across the country. So those tend to be larger events, and get a different, you get to mix with a different group of folks at those events in those competitions, and there's an opportunity from those events to qualify directly to the national championship. And so there's a qualification system in place. The goal there is not the competition in and of itself. It's not winning for winning's sake, but it is putting a challenge out, sort of a carrot out in front of our children, giving them something to strive for, and providing some motivation for them as they apply their skills to see improvement, to see growth, and to see some competitive success.
Great. So Kim, as people are hearing about this great opportunity, how would a new family get involved? How would they prepare for these great events? How does that fit together with what they're already doing in their children's education?
Well, getting involved is really easy, and you have some options. You can go to our website. I think many of you have been on sessions earlier today where we've pointed you to the website where you can find like-minded folks near you with local clubs that you can practice with. You can start a club yourself. If you have even one or two other families who are interested in really just sharpening iron together. Again, as Christy said, it kind of provides that opportunity for them to just work together, to learn some team building skills while they're building their communication skills. So they could do that. You can do it in your own school, whether that's your home school with just your family, our curriculum that we've mentioned a few times. You can certainly use that. You can use it within your school if you're an educator and you are going to meet this year. You can incorporate that into your in-person curriculum. You can incorporate it into an online curriculum. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to kind of get started. And really, once you get started as a parent, because I assume many of the folks who are listening are parents, really staying just one step ahead of your kids in the beginning is all you need to do. You don't need to be an expert. Really, it is just kind of getting started. And then what I can assure you is that the kids are going to overtake you in the very best way. Yes. It's really that dangling carrot that Christy talked about that really drives them to continue to want to do it. I think Natalia mentioned yesterday, sometimes they don't want to do their math, but they always want to find time to do research. Yes. So as some of our panelists suggested this morning, sometimes it's important to set the boundaries around what you want to accomplish, but you can very quickly make it co-curricular. It's not just an extracurricular activity unless you want it to be. If you really have a very set, fixed curriculum that you really aren't interested in adding to, this can always be their extracurricular activity. It can also be co-curricular. And sometimes it starts out one way and kind of morphs to another. You find that, as Greg was mentioning in the last session, there's so much history and social science and economics, there's math, there's all kinds of information that you can actually use and give your students credit for as they are progressing in whatever they're involved in.
That's great. So let me just take a moment to talk about that curriculum. We have 3 different guides that will be available to you: the Comprehensive Guide to Speech, the Comprehensive Guide to Policy Debate, and the Comprehensive Guide to Value Debate. And each one of those has a competitor's handbook, it has a coach's manual, and it has a parent guide. So I wanted to share a little bit about that so that you'll know how to use that in whatever situation you're in. All of those have teaching plans that are set up generally for the fall semester. So most of our families and our clubs spend the fall semester preparing and the spring semester then going to competitions and delivering. And so they are set up for 12-week sessions. So for those of you who are asking, can I do this in my homeschool? Yes, you can. You can do that in about a semester, or you can do every other week. If you need to space it out more, you can custom tailor it for whatever situation you have. And likewise, those of you who are coming to us from a Christian school, this can be designed as a class, or it can be designed as an after-school activity that you do, very similar to many of our clubs. So those guides walk you through everything. They assume that you know nothing. So for those of you who are from a classical background, they're going to teach you how to discover really great ideas, to brainstorm and come up with ideas. They're going to teach you how to reason through those ideas, to research and really dig in to find the very best ideas. And then they're going to teach you how to persuasively deliver that. How do we communicate that to an audience? So I used this curriculum, and I was so grateful because, as I mentioned, this was not my background, and really it does a very, very nice job, not just of teaching your children, but really of teaching us. So I'm so thankful that that's an option. So Kim, I know there are ways for families to get connected with the league. Can you tell us a little bit about affiliation?
Absolutely. Affiliation is sort of membership, if you want to think about it in that way. We are an association, so the affiliation provides you with an opportunity not only to be able to compete, to take part in the tournaments that Chrissy's been describing, but it also provides a number of other benefits, like discounts with HSLDA, discounts with Staples and Office Depot and Office Max. I think we've seen evidence over the years that folks use that and they say, wow, like I already within a month or so paid in savings, had my affiliation paid for.
Yes.
That's a really great opportunity to take advantage of as well. We also have lots of educational opportunities, very much like the summit. We have printed resources that are available for students and coaches, parents to take advantage of as well. So that affiliation is designed for different groups. Most of our affiliations are family affiliations. So when a family affiliates, it's for all the students in that family. When a school affiliates, it covers the students that will participate from that particular school. We also have coach and alumni and supporter affiliations as well.
That's great. And Chrissy, when parents come to these tournaments with their students, because we do encourage the whole family to be involved, what can a parent expect? What are the different things they're going to experience in a tournament?
Parents are integral to our tournament experience. Almost every person involved in a tournament is a volunteer. And so we really invest in one another's students and invest in one another's lives. In order for a tournament to function, it really takes a lot of people, and that includes our parents. And so our parents do participate. It's not a drop-off type of activity. It's one where parents are engaged and growing again alongside their students. We have most of our parents will be serving as judges, and sometimes the word judge can be a little bit intimidating to a parent, but it's really providing feedback. Every person who listens to any type of communication has the skill to evaluate that communication and to provide feedback to our students. We want our students to be able to communicate with a wide audience. Those who agree with them, those who disagree with them, those who are experienced, and those who are not. We really want our students to be able to develop real-world communication skills. So our parents do listen to speeches and debates and provide feedback throughout the tournament. We also have some other volunteer opportunities for our parents as part of our tournaments.
That's great. Kim, if you had to compare NCFCA to other opportunities in this realm, how are we unique? How are we different?
You know, honestly, the skills that you learn just through participation here prepare you for wherever you're going. Again, it's an opportunity for our young people to gain skills, to learn to interact, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of civil discourse, to disagree without being disagreeable. That's one of the things that makes us different. We also, as a speech and debate league, we're different in that, as Chrissy said, we value real world communication. We value not having a trained judge, a trained listener, but rather to be a trained and effective communicator. So that you don't have to expect that your listener already knows what you're talking about. You need to be a communicator who can actually explain what sometimes is a very difficult concept in a way that's understandable.
That's great. And do you have to attend all of the tournaments to be a part of the league? What's kind of that minimum entry point level?
That is a great question, because I think sometimes you think, wow, the NCFCA offers 60 tournaments in a year. How could I go to 60 tournaments? You can't. Don't try. Even Chrissy and I don't do that. You can participate on whatever level works for your family. If that's one online tournament, and maybe Chrissy wants to talk about that opportunity, but one online tournament or one in-person tournament that's maybe in your area, go and participate, even if it's one child, one speech. I promise you, you will see progress. It's amazing what that opportunity just of that tournament where they do several rounds of debate or they're able to deliver their speech several times, the improvement that happens from that very first presentation to the last presentation of that tournament. It really is almost mind-boggling how quickly they are able to pick that up.
And Chrissy, are the tournament fees covered in affiliation? Are there competition fees as well?
There are registration fees for the tournaments themselves. Each family, again, as Kim just said, determines how many competitions they choose to participate in. And so each tournament does have registration fees that are incorporated. That are in addition to affiliation, but that are part of the competition. We do have a pre-season league handbook that is available that provides some details. It provides some general description about the different types of tournaments that are offered, as well as the tournament fees, and a few other details that could be really helpful as a resource.
That's
great. Especially for new families, but for returning families as well.
So as with every other organization, we are facing this fantastic situation right now of this virus. And so can you just tell us what is the plan? Are we still going to be able to compete? Are there still going to be opportunities for our students to grow their communication skills? What does that look like?
Well, that is something that we're really excited about in the face of a difficult situation, because we are absolutely committed to our students having the opportunity to compete for the purpose of developing their skills and growing in those skills. So we are working on an online tournament option for NCFCA, and we are planning at a minimum we will be offering at least 3 national level events that would be open to competitors from across the country. And each region will be hosting at least 1 online opportunity as well. From there, there's a lot still to be determined. We're working on plans. We're working on contingency plans. We're working on a timeline to make decisions, of course, following very closely as well, as we know all of you are with current events, updates on a daily basis with all of the change. But we're very thankful that with what seems like shifting sand, we do have an opportunity for our students to compete and for them to develop those skills, regardless of the circumstances, whether we can meet in person or whether we need to meet online. We will have opportunities available for our students.
So Kim, this year we added a new event, our online intensive. Can you just share a little bit of the heart behind why we are adding that event?
Absolutely. We were having a conversation much like the one that we're having now with our club leaders from around the country. Clubs are independent of NCFCA, but dotted line connected and feel like family to us. And so we were having a conversation in the spring about what the circumstances around us meant for local clubs. And many of those club leaders expressed an interest in having an online opportunity to sort of do camp. We know, just like online tournaments are not going to be the same as in-person tournaments, that online camp is not the same as an in-person camp. But for this particular season, it really made a lot of sense. And it's really serving a number of students around the country. I know I had a question earlier in my inbox about like how many kids are coming to the intensive. We have more than 350 kids coming to the intensive next week for speech and value debate and policy debate. So we're super excited about providing that opportunity. It's going to be very interactive. It's not going to be on the webinar platform. It's going to be on a platform that allows breakout groups where you have small groups of 8 or 9 students and a leader who are really able to practice the skills that are being taught about, for instance, something from this morning, like when Mrs. Shipe was teaching about debate, you would have that teaching time, but then you get to break out with a leader and really practice some of the things, like what are those stock issues again? Okay, yes. What does that mean? So it's going to be a really great opportunity. So that's our heart, is really just to serve, to provide resources. There are going to be recordings of those. I know not everybody's able to attend next week, so we will have recordings of those that will be available for use. If you want to take that on into the fall, incorporate it into your curriculum. It works nicely with our curriculum. A lot of that activities actually have been taken from there as well.
That's great. And so just like the curriculum has 12 weeks, we have 11 or 12 sessions, and you'll be able to walk through those. So after the event, if you want to use that to lay out your fall, you're welcome to do so. I will tell you, it's just been a tremendous privilege for us to watch the support and the camaraderie of coaches across this country. There are 70 coaches that are helping out with the intensive next week. And that's in addition to the teaching team, all of whom are either NCFCA leaders or NCFCA alumni who are now coming back to use the skills that they learned in NCFCA to give back to the next generation. I just could not be more excited about that. It has been such a pleasure to watch that develop. So if you are interested in that event, we do have just a couple of spaces left. You can visit ncfca.org/intensive. I do want to let you know that the registration for that is closing tomorrow evening. So if you've started that process and you still have items in your cart, now is the time to check those out, because we will close that so that we can make sure we have the best breakout groups ready for that activity. So Kim, let's go ahead and wrap up for the evening. I would love to just hear from you, your heart. We do all of these different things. Give us the why. Why do we do what we do?
It all boils down to our mission, that we are committed to equipping and empowering young people to be ambassadors for Christ, to communicate effectively with confidence and grace, to really, we are the crossroads of that understanding of knowledge and of seeking truth together and of graceful communication. So that's what we're about.
That's great. Well, I want to thank all of you who have stayed this extra time just to hear a little bit about what we do. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time, and we'll be talking about value debate. So as believers, certainly we ought to learn about the reasons for why we make the decisions that we do. And this is a great opportunity to talk about the things that you value with your students. So join us tomorrow with Mrs. Christy Experience at 11 a.m. Central Time. Have a great evening, everyone.